Tyler Scraggs. Tyler Scraggs, 18 at the time of the crash, was high on meth when he crashed on Taylor Road in Greenville County, according to prosecutors. Haley Cantrell, 16, a passenger in the car, died days after the crash. Cantrell was an 11th grader at Travelers Rest High School. Scraggs was sentenced to 10 years with time served. He has already served 267 days, according to the judge. Scraggs was driving north on Taylor Road when he ran off the right side, lost control, crossed back over the roadway, ran off the left side, struck an embankment and overturned, troopers say. Investigators say Scraggs was going at least 56 miles an hour in a 35-mile-an-hour zone. Nobody in the car was wearing a seatbelt at the time of the crash, according to the SC Highway Patrol. 2 other passengers were injured in the crash. Cantrell and another girl were thrown from the car during the crash. Her family says she had an unforgettable laugh. A laugh like nobody else, said Tina Fowler, Cantrell's cousin. Katie McGrosso. A 22-year-old woman who drove while under the influence of alcohol in Lakeside and struck 2 pedestrians, killing one of them, was sentenced to more than 11 years in prison. Katie McGrosso, whom authorities have also identified as Katie Ellison, pleaded guilty and made a gross vehicular manslaughter while intoxicated and DUI causing injury in connection with the September 25th incident. Lorraine Kennedy, 55, was killed in the collision. David Sandale suffered injuries that kept him in a hospital's intensive care unit for 54 days, a prosecutor said. The couple had traveled to San Diego County from Texas last fall. After her arrest, McGrosso was charged with second-degree murder in the death last September 25th of Lorraine Kennedy of Brenham, Texas, who had traveled to San Diego with her husband, David Sandale, to celebrate her granddaughter's 4th birthday. Lorraine Kennedy's son, Travis Kennedy, said her family agreed to accept the defendant's plea to a lesser charge to shine a light on his mother's life. He said his mother would have forgiven the defendant, but he was not ready to do that. Kennedy described his mother as the brightest light in any room. She was the true definition of an angel on earth. Travis Kennedy said he saw a car stopped in the street and ran to his 55-year-old mother, who was lying in front of it. Todd Grudzinski. Todd Grudzinski has been formally sentenced to life in prison for hitting and killing 25-year-old Angela Wimmer while he was driving drunk. The only person convicted of first-degree murder solely for a drunken driving crash got the only sentence allowed under Colorado law on Thursday, life in prison with no possibility of parole. Todd Grudzinski, 48, spent the morning of September 30th hitting at least 3 bars and downing 9 shots of hard liquor and 4 beers before getting behind the wheel of his full-size pickup and plowing into Angela Wimmer as she sat at a red light on Kipling Street at Colfax Avenue. Wimmer, 25, suffered critical head injuries and died about 2 hours later at a hospital. "I am so remorseful and so sorry that I did what I did," Grudzinski told the judge. Grudzinski's blood alcohol level was .341 a little more than an hour after the crash, more than 4 times the point at which a motorist is considered intoxicated under Colorado law. Investigations found that Grudzinski had been convicted of drinking and driving 6 previous times. A Jefferson County jury convicted him of the murder charge as well as vehicular homicide, 3 counts of attempted first-degree assault, and 2 counts of careless driving causing injury. Wimmer had been to church that morning, then stopped at a Sonic to pick up lunch. She was just blocks from her home when Grudzinski plowed into her, a crash so violent it hurled her Mazda sedan into a 44 miles per hour spin and started a chain reaction crash that involved 3 other vehicles. Jordan Fuss. A man who was intoxicated when he caused a 2014 crash that killed a 6-year-old boy was sentenced Thursday to 14 years in prison. Jordan Fuss, 22, of Davie, was shaking uncontrollably as he entered the courtroom with his family. Prosecutors sought the maximum sentence of 15 years in prison for killing Santiago Giraldo. Fuss' attorney argued for a reduced sentence, claiming that his client is so remorseful that he's contemplated suicide. The Giraldo family cried in court while the defense argued for a lighter sentence. Fuss apologized to the family during his testimony. "I'm so sorry," he said. "I wish it was me." Fuss' attorney said he knew that his client was going to prison, but he asked the judge to show mercy. "I would give my life if it meant bringing him back," Fuss said. However, prosecutors said that Fuss admitted to using alcohol and smoking marijuana since the crash. Fuss, who was 19 at the time of the crash, was traveling more than 90 mph on Sterling Road when he crashed his 2004 Infiniti G35 into another vehicle at Davie Road just before midnight on October 3, 2014. Police said Fuss had a blood alcohol level of 0.21%. The state legal limit is 0.08%. Fuss said he was drinking Captain Morgan rum before the crash. It was his 21-year-old friend, who was a passenger in his car, who bought it for him. Santiago's father took the stand and looked directly at Fuss when he said that he will never forgive him. Fuss had one last tearful message to loved ones while being fingerprinted. "I love you guys so much." Samantha Davis. Samantha Davis was found guilty in 2019 in the deaths of two people who were crushed when Davis's pickup ramped an overpass and landed on their car as they drove south on Interstate 71. Davis was serving an 8-year prison sentence when the First District Court of Appeals in May 2021 threw out the convictions, finding that she was deprived of effective assistance of counsel. Davis's attorney then filed a motion for a bond hearing so she could be released from prison while she waited for a new trial. Davis was driving to her job as a server at a Sharonville restaurant. According to testimony, she was speeding in a 1995 Dodge Ram that had an underinflated rear tire she had tried to repair herself. As she drove on the overpass leading from northbound Interstate 71 to Interstate 275 west, she lost control. An Ohio State Highway Patrol trooper who happened to be driving on the same ramp said the pickup drove directly into the concrete barrier and went over it. The pickup landed on a car, crushing it and killing a mother and daughter who were driving to the University of Cincinnati's graduation ceremonies. Jorge Solis. A judge in Georgia sentenced 21-year-old Jorge Solis to 75 years in prison for the drunk driving crash that killed 3 members of a Benton, Illinois family on Father's Day last June in Atlanta. Prosecutors say the 3 children were riding with their 2 grandfathers when Solis was drunk and driving the wrong way down Interstate 75. He hit the family's car head-on. Michael Osborne was driving and survived. Osborne's grandson, Cabron, was killed in the crash. Cabron's sister, Hallie, was also killed, and his brother, Clayton, was paralyzed. The children's other grandfather, Mike Furlow, was also killed. The family had left Benton earlier that day on a trip to Florida to visit the children's mother. Solis was underage at the time of the deadly wreck. Solis was sentenced to 75 years in prison. He will have to serve at least 50 years before he is eligible for parole. The mother of the children, Kimberly Goldsby, said justice will never be served. Her 3-year-old son, Clayton, survived the crash. He was paralyzed and will likely never walk again. Since the incident, the mother has spoken out against drunk driving. She also founded a nonprofit and is building a memorial garden to honor her children.